party? Would you choose to perhaps have people introduce each other? You know, it's such a different way, and it's a great place for us to start as a group, because had we introduced ourselves, we would have said what our name was, how old we are, maybe where we're from, where we live, whether we're married, and all this data, all the crap that nobody really gives a rip about. I mean, some of it might be interesting or cool, but we never really get to the essence of the person. And that's really hard. You know, can you imagine if you stood up here and I said, okay, now everybody describe your essence. So that's what the other person was describing, was your essence. The other nice thing that this demonstration typified was that it allowed us to connect with the universal oneness, or the Advaita, the allness, God's Spirit, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call that. We tapped it, we touched it. You got a little, and that's when the comments that you heard, hey, I didn't know what I was going to say, but once I started it, it started to flow. That's what we touched, and that's what this group is all about. We've already done it. So on the very first night, we stepped right into it and we touched it. And so this group is about, each time we come here, touching that more and more and more and more, so that you can understand and you can learn to differentiate between the egoic, factual data, stuff that you can touch and feel in the physical world, from the essence and the spirit and the signal line. That's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight, is with regard to controlled remote viewing. The industry, the profession, the skill, the hobby, whatever you want to call it, we use this term called the signal line, and that's what we touched tonight. So we got that. Okay, so now we're going to set that demonstration aside and introductions, and we're going to go into a little bit of housekeeping. We'll take a break at some point to let people relieve their bladders and stretch your legs. And then we're going to get some paper out, and we're actually going to do some more work on how do we do this thing called controlled remote viewing. So that's kind of the overview for tonight. So we're done with this page. Now let's see if I can use my little gizmo here. There it goes. Okay, so overview of the group again is desiring an experience. I put this together today as just this page. It's occurred to me in the last week with regard to answering people's questions on how did you know you could do this? Or what is it that makes you think you can do this? Or why do you just do these different things that you do? And, you know, Eric has asked me that before. My mother has asked me that. A variety of different people have asked me, how did you just know that you could go do that and that it would work out okay? And I don't really know that I did know that I could, or that it would work out okay, but what I did know is I wanted an experience. I wanted to have an experience. And if that's what I can convey to everybody here, that it is not about ascertaining a knowledge base and building data sets of a protocol of how you do things. Yes, we'll talk about information, and yes, we'll have a sequence and we'll have protocols. That just is to entertain the ego, to let the ego think, okay, you've now earned the right to have this experience. So I want that to settle in for a second. So we have this left side of the mind that says, you got to do X, Y, and Z to be able to do this. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Mm-hmm.
Unsolved is in its own nature, it's undefinable, so it can never be physically attained.
Right. So that's our battle here in the human form, is to understand that dance that we're doing with mind and spirit, with ego and spirit. So I suppose I can emphasize this enough, but it feels like I can't emphasize it enough. So I'd like to just do a little timeline to show you how strongly I believe this and how important this concept is to start here tonight as a building block and a foundation for what we're going to all do going forward. You know, first of all, if you do stick around and you do go through this process, 5 months from now, you will be a significantly different person than you are today. You will think differently, act differently, your life will be different.